What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends very soon at the end of March. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with this market. As you guys can tell right now, the market is very flat during this pre-market session. We're waiting for some major data that's going to be coming out to cause more volatility. So I'll talk more about what under that data is that's going to be shaking these markets. But just know that there was some good news that came out for Tesla. The Model Y Juniper is coming out in the UK, Europe, and the USA officially in March. It's going to be under $60,000. That's a great piece of news. So hopefully this helps the share price to some extent for the short term. But anyways, going back to our data, as you guys know, the Bank of Japan has increased their interest rate by 50 basis points. With that happening, it's not the best of news. We'll see if that affects the U.S. markets or not. But for now, we're just going to be focusing on this news. The U.S. market is still flat, so far it's not affecting us too much. And just know that we have some very important data. So we have the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing and Services PMI reports coming out at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's going to be 15 minutes after the stock market opens. Watch for some volatility upon this data release. Now, will this data cause the market to pump or will it dump? That depends on different factors. So we'll have to see about that. So make sure you guys watch this data very closely at 9:45 a.m. Also, just know that this could be a catalyst that's used for some manipulation. So sometimes they grab liquidity before they cause really big moves. So just be prepared for that, guys. I'm just here to give you guys like a warning about that, about what these market makers could be essentially trying to do right now. So it's Friday. Fridays are known for manipulation, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, going back here for earnings, we just had Verizon announce their earnings. They did relatively well. They had an EPS of $1.10, beating forecasts of $1.09. Revenue is at $35.7 billion above expectations, and overall, the share price is up just a little bit. I would say that's pretty decent earnings and good guidance. Good job by Verizon. Two last things. I just want to mention that there's about a little bit over 310,000 calls expiring, and we have over 1 million puts expiring, putting the put to call ratio at 3.19. So it's basically 3 puts for every call expiring. We'll see what the market makers do with this. Will they cause the market to push to squeeze shorts, or will there be a rug pull? It all depends. And then on top of that, we had Trump speaking yesterday at the World Economic Forum. For those who missed it, he did say important things. We have Boeing announcing earnings soon, and besides that, I didn't see anything else that was too crazy on the news. Just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's talk about these levels. So if you're bearish on SPY, you want to see this thing lose 606.5, around that 606.5 area. If we lose that, then bears will have more control. We could be dipping back down to 603 to fill that gap. If you're bullish on SPY, you want to see SPY break past 610 once our data comes out, the PMI report. If we break 610, we're looking for 612, then eventually 615 as our targets. So it all depends on this data coming out at 9:45 a.m. and what kind of reaction we get upon open, because we're very flat during the pre-market right now. We're indecisive, so we're waiting. Will we lose 608 and 606 to turn bearish? Or do we break 610 to turn more bullish? Could go either way. We're completely stuck in the pre-market, so I'm going to wait and see what the reaction is. As of right now, the chart's holding support, so we'll see just to be safe. On the QQQ, we look a little bit more bullish, but that depends if we could break key levels. If we break 533, look for 535. That's this previous resistance right over here. If that breaks, we turn very bullish, and we're going to be pushing to the high 530s. So break 533 and 535. This is like more bullish. If we hypothetically end up rejecting, we lose 530. Okay, we're going to be dipping to 527, if not 525. So lose 530, we're bearish. Break 533, we're a little bit more bullish. We'll see which way we go. We're going to be waiting. So far, this favors upside a little bit more, but we'll see depending on our data. For the Russell 2000, just know that we have kind of like a double top here. We had a high up here, we came down, made a lower high, and now we're kind of like slowing. So if this is a double top, this is going to be a risk of coming down to 227 or below to 225 to fill the gap. If we're bullish and we break 230, we could try to bounce, but this looks a little bit more bearish looking at this setup, forming a double top. So it favors downside a bit more. ES is in this chop zone. So historically, we do chop between 61.60 and 61.20, at least historically. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to be looking for a dip to retest previous resistance, becoming support at 61.25. And we'll see if we get some kind of breakout or not. So watch these levels very, very closely. That's going to be very key for how we end up continuing to move. If 61.25 fails us, there's going to be a dip, so give it some time. On NQ, we're stuck in the middle. If we lose 22,000, we're looking for 21,800. If we break 22,000, we're looking for 22,200 to break out higher. We're stuck in between right now, just shuffling at 22,000, so give NQ some time. Bitcoin's looking a little bit more bullish. I want to see if we can break 106,000, start pushing higher. If we lose 103,000, we're going to turn back down. So we'll see as we're stuck in between these key levels. For Nvidia, we look a bit more bullish. If we could hold above 147, we're looking for 150 as our target. If we end up losing 144, we turn back down. But this is favoring upside a little bit more. Tesla is looking like it wants to bounce a little bit, but we'll see if we can reclaim this blue trend line or not. I think Tesla could push closer to 420 or so, or even above that. We'll just have to see if we could try to reclaim this trend line. It might push like this. We'll see if we get a rejection or if we break past this trend line. It looks like it wants to bounce a bit because of the Model Y refresh news. If we lose 413 and 410, we turn back down. As long as we're above 416, we have potential to bounce to 420. So I see potential in Tesla stock. Apple's trying to bounce. If we break 226, we're looking for 228 and 230. Going back, hold on, I just want to double check something. Coinbase has resistance at 30, basically this 300 zone. If we could hold above 300, we're looking for an attempt to get to 308. If 300 fails us, we dip to 296 and 291. So it's all about 300. Can we hold it? We do look bullish on the 4 hour, but we'll see just to be safe. Amazon needs to try to hold 235. If we lose that, we're looking for 233. And if we hold this, we could bounce for 238. So we'll see about that. Meta came down to about 624. We got to hold that. Might be retesting 630. If we bounce off this, we could be pushing for 640. But if 624 fails us, we dip back down to 616. It could go either way. It's getting a small rejection right here. So we'll see if we start to turn back down to 624. We have to just see if it holds. It might retest that. As far as Microsoft goes, we could be dipping closer to about that 443 area. We'll have to see if we bounce or not. If we don't hold this, we could be dipping to about 440. For Google, we're stuck in the middle right here. We have to see if 198 holds us, or else we could be dipping to about 196. And if we try to hold this, we could be bouncing for 202. So it could go either way, but I think there's a risk of us retesting 198.8. If that doesn't hold, we could be dipping a bit. So be careful with Google. There's a little bit of weakness right there. With that being said, the market is looking decent. It's holding supports, but we'll see if we get a rejection or not. So watch this data at 9:45 a.m. and we'll see how things go. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a good rest of your day. I'm going to be back in a couple of hours to give you guys another update. So keep and watch for another video from me within the next 2 or so hours. And then we'll see what happens with this data that's being released. Watch for volatility at 9:45 a.m. or 15 minutes after market open. Thank you for listening, and peace out.